The opening round of Season 5 was one that you can consider a changing the guard. New front runners, new contenders, and new organizations, all with a shot to come away with victory. It was the youngster, Elvis Rankin, who came away with his first career victory in the Big C's MX-5 Challenge to start off the campaign. And now today, as they continue their way through Japan, it's time to make some more history at the virtual Suzuka International Racing Course. Welcome everyone to today's edition of the Sim Experience Countdown to Green, live for the virtual Suzuka circuit here in Japan for round 2 of Season 5 of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Stefan Schlacker. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. These drivers ready to make some history tonight here at Suzuka for this series. Let's take a look at your GSRC track guide to learn more about this historic facility.
Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard?
That was a look at your GSRC track guide for Suzuka. Remember, the Countdown to Green is brought to you by Sim Experience AccuForce Steering System. The most advanced tuning features on the market. The AccuForce Direct Drive is second only to the real thing. Check out the entire Sim Experience line of products and head on over to simexperience.com. Personally vouch that steering wheel really helpful around a track such as this for today, Stefan. As we get ready to get around this racetrack, your thoughts on today's action?
Well, Justin, as you said, most definitely would be a good use for that steering wheel, because around these 18 turns you really have to wheel your MX-5 around 5.8 kilometers off track, like you probably just heard also in our track guide. And in that MX-5, it is something very unusual, because normally this track doesn't see these little cars around here. So sure, it's going to open up a lot of passing opportunities for these little MX-5 cars, underpowered but with a very big slipstream. So be sure to expect some passes into 130R or maybe even into the chicane. Might also see some passes into the hairpin, because that is a very viable overtaking spot in a club car like the MX-5 is. Turn 1 should be tricky with a little bit of oversteer that the MX-5 can most definitely have. So be on the lookout, especially on that first flying lap.
This is going to be a tricky one, absolutely. And it was a tricky one to start off the season at Okayama International Circuit, where things stayed calm for about the first 30 or so minutes. Then the final laps happened. That in turn led to Elvis Rankin coming away with the victory after pulling a strategy call where he was able to stretch away from the field after the pit stops by 2 seconds. They didn't reel him in until the closing lap of the race. It was Yerme Torres coming home in second in that race. He's 7 points back entering today. Sonny Ketchen, Brendan Hawkin, and Robert Hartley round out your top 5 in the point standings. Again, top 5 separated by 15 total points entering this evening. Speaking of today's round, though, let's take a look at your race details here, Esteban.
Yeah, round 2 of the 10 rounds we have in the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. Today's race, as every race, is 40 minutes long. Setups are completely fixed to the iRacing baseline, if you wonder. So you are most definitely used to what these guys drive. Incident cap 20x might be a little bit of a problem here, as it can most definitely incur some of those incident off-track points around here. And the points go back all the way to 15th if you want to know that. And most importantly, Justin, the fuel, it's limited to 3.9 gallons.
Which in turn leads to around 25 total minutes or so, which can open up the strategy floodgates for a race such as this today. Now, for real, let's take a look at your qualifying details presented by SHH Shifter. SHH Shifter uses only the best commercial plastics to create the high quality 3D printed shifters you need to give it your all on the track. Their commitment to detail and durability ensures that you receive the perfect shifter. Find them on the web at shiftershh.com. 4 solo laps for these drivers today, 15 minutes on the clock, strict qualifying scrutiny, and that's going to be the key. Meaning, if you're caught, say, doing tire warming up methods, or say you spin it out, you risk potentially getting black flagged and having your whole run disallowed. In other words, don't crash and don't stop.
Yeah, and also don't just go on a Sunday drive on your outlap. You actually have to be quite on speed already just on your outlap to not get the black flag, that third black flag that gives you the first warning, and on that second warning you're already getting the black flag for being too slow on your outlap. So you really have to be careful on that first 2.5 minutes around the track.
Let's take a look at your track conditions as well. As per usual, in-sim time is around 6:11 p.m. at the moment. Fairly cool, 27 degrees Celsius, 25 degrees is the air temp today. That's 81 degrees Fahrenheit track, 78 air temp, partly cloudy skies. Not too much factor in the wind at the moment. So, these drivers dealing with, once again, a fairly cool track with a lot of grip, but at the moment, it's Brandon Hawken to the top of the pylon, James Sharp, then Kruikat surprisingly up to third, Shane Sullivan, Robert Hartley, Vicente Salas making his first start, Andres Prieto, Clifford Eben, your top 8 at the moment. So very competitive so far with 38 cars on track.
Yeah, and a lot of new names as well in those top 10, with Nico Arvilomi just outside the top 10 as well. He's going through the last chicane right now as we're looking at Rui Coimbra, who is looking to be driving a AlphaTauri livery, interestingly enough. There we have Anthony Burrows going over the start-finish line. Does not count. Kukut coming in now also as well over the finish line. He is taking home that last lap, but he has already produced 4 laps, so that's not going to count.
It's actually now is on his 3rd lap at the moment, by the way, as one of the new drivers is this one. This is Odis Adams Jr. looking to set a time. He Scrabble board, that's the 46, and Lubov, along with Henry Morse, Liam Hides, along with Bachmeyer and Elvis Rankin, the only our drivers not to set times at the moment. The driver you just followed along with was able to bump his way up towards the mid-pack. Liam Hides this time. The Australia-New Zealand regional driver, meanwhile, does not have his time count. And that can happen, as you talked about. This is not going to be an easy race because this is not usually the type of circuit you see this series go to in the past. This is going to potentially be one of the longest circuits that these drivers may see this season.
Yeah, unless they go to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, this is pretty much the longest track that they are going to see, like you said. Yep. And one thing that is really interesting right now in this qualifying dynamic is Jaume Damasus Torres. Second in the championship after round 1. Right now, only sitting in 20th position, a whopping 2.5 off first place, Brandon Hawken.
Taking a look at Bachmeyer as he crosses the stripe, he goes up to 17th position. That leads to curious question too for Elvis Rankin, who is also yet to record an official time on his second way around. As a driver, for this type of track, normally you see drivers compete to the times where you see them faster and faster each lap. This may be different today. Your thoughts on how you want to try to play this for qualifying then?
It really depends. It's such a weird combination. You can get that phenomenon where you're getting faster and faster and faster as Elvis Rankin puts in a 12th lap. But most of these drivers are putting in their fastest lap on that first lap. Brandon Hawking, for example, first lap out, fastest lap. Second lap, just way off. Same for James Sharp. The same also for Kukukut. So really interesting development around such a long track. And that's exactly what plays into that as well. It's such a long track, it uses so much tires on just a single lap that you might not be able to get that same position once again around the second and third lap.
See that time by Torres, not able to bump it up. Another unofficial time for him with an incident point. Crew Cup, meanwhile, slower on that time by. So it looks like the speeds are slowing down for the third and fourth laps. That could spell trouble for one of your top runners in the championship of the past couple seasons. Rapaldi going to bump himself up from 29th, not able to do so. While still only two drivers are yet to record times. This one in the 36th, and Leon Hides once again looking to try and get good starting position for his debut. Unfortunately, a 2:28.8 this time. Henry Morris, the only other driver not yet to start a time, who just started their qualifying. Oh, by the way, your pole sitter is still Brandon Hawken by a good 0.4 of a second over his teammate James Sharp from Ravano Sim Racing Team.
Robert Hartley just breaking the norm right here. Third lap, fastest lap out, a 10th faster than his first lap, but it didn't yield any position from him. He's still sitting in fourth place, just ahead of Shane Sullivan, just behind the Kukukut. So really interesting development. And also, Justin, a lot of people are taking a lot of off tracks in their laps, pushing this hard in qualifying.
Yeah, as many as 7 incident points gathered by some of these drivers so far in this qualifying session. One driver may have been booked for scrutiny, you should know. You may have noticed a moment ago that the 23 Andreas Priaulx was going backwards in the Casio triangle. He is now out for the rest of qualifying. He is P7 on the board, however. Elvis Rankin looking to bump his way up from 13th after pulling off that victory, had been able to pull off the strategy card to take home the checkered flag. Needs to gain about a full second to get up to the pole. No, it's 1/10 slower, still has one more lap at the very most, as we are down to about 2 minutes and 30 seconds or so on the clock.
Yeah, just about. He has time to put in that last and fourth lap. It's about 3-4 seconds that he has time to get that lap across. He really has to be on a flyer to make something happen. But honestly, from what I've seen thus far, it doesn't really seem that anyone will be able to make that faster lap on that third and fourth lap.
Torres is still needing to gain a ton of time. You could also put Juan Manuel Fernandez in that. He's got it there, though, up to 11th. So he's just outside the top 10, right behind Sonny Kenshin. Still have to give a shout out, though, to this 22 machine. This is the best qualifying run we've seen from Kuwakat in this series in a long while.
A big thank you there to Common Master Stars for proving me directly wrong, jumping up to 11th place. Let's see what Brandon Hawking can do as he comes out of the Casio triangle for the last time. Doesn't look like too fast right now, but let's have a look if that is actually a fast one, and it is a not counted lap.
If it was counted, it would have been still 6/10 slower, to say the very least. But final few moments, only one driver with the non-recorded time, and that driver, by the way, has crashed, and Henry Morris in the 14, and he's saying, you know what, I'm going to be happy with 38th position. Munoz, meanwhile, looking to bump up his time in the final few stages here. He crosses the stripe, no official count there, in 16th position. Anthony Burrows also looking to bump up. This is one driver to also watch for Stefan in 2021. Was a contender for the Road to Pro Series this year, as talked about, and a contender last week.
Yeah, most definitely, he is the man to watch for this season, as well as he puts on a 27.005, puts him up to 16th place, just inside the top 20 as he goes for a tumble in a celebratory way through the start-finish straight. Sharpush Prem is completely missing out the Casio triangle there. That was pretty much the center line.
This is likely the last driver who will be able to set a time here. Thomas Geisler, and it will be tight if he does so. Likely not going to make it to the buzzer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, the drivers just about wrapped up here for qualifying as a result, and it was an eventful one for these drivers, but they all have been busy setting the pitbox.io starting grid for today. Pitbox.io is the new cloud-based data platform that allows drivers, engineers, and coaches to store, analyze, and share data such as track notes and car setups to better improve performance on the racetrack. Visit bigbox.io to get started. Time to get ready to look at your starting grid for today's action. It's round number 2 with Season 5 of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. It'll be Brandon Hawken on the pole today with James Sharp on the outside front row. The Movado SimRacing teammates will start in front of Taha Cut and Robert Hartley. Shane Sullivan starts in 5th with Vicente Salas up in 6th spot with the 26.6. Chris Brito in 7th with Shian Ishimaro in 8th. Mazzini in 9th, and it's Clifford Evan rounding up your top 10 today, Stefan.
Yeah, and if you want to keep up with these guys, GSRC.tv, your place, because this is the place to be right now. With Jaume Damasus Torres in 12th place, Sonny Kenshin starting just beside him in 11th, and there's also Juan Manuel Fernandez in 13th, Nick Avilomi starting in 14th. Your championship leader out of round 1, Elvis Rank in 15th place, with Anthony Burrows just beside him in 16th. Daniel Ario Munoz in 17th, Adi Herro in 18th, Kelly Heights in 19th, and Justin Taylor rounding out your top 20.
Jarnett Backmayer starts in 21st position as Christopher Hen will look to chase after the chicken coop from 22nd spot. Alice Manick starts 23rd with Rick Columbra in 24th. Lindroff starts 25th alongside Owen Watts. Adise Adams Jr. crashed as well and had some problems in qualifying. 27th, James Clark 28th. Applauding and Hayden Gober had said he was used to prototype racing. He'll look to try and wheel his MX-5 today. Rest the grid now shown on screen. 38 drivers will start, 37 set times in qualifying for today. And again, remember, 40 minutes the distance. Fuel will last 25 minutes estimated. The engines are revving. The green lights are up. We're underway once again for the Big C's MX-5 Challenge, this time from Suzuka. Oh, and they're crashing in the back of the field. Several cars are flipping upside down to the very back of the 20s. Rest of the grid able to make it clear and clean up at the front. Oh, and they're crashing for about 4th. Now the mid-pack is crashing. Vicente Salas and several others involved. Everyone having wild moments there. Brendan Hawken and Kuaka, the only drivers in the top 2 to get through clean.
This is huge. Okayama didn't have such troubles in the opening corners, but look at Suzuka to come up with the issues. Too much places for these guys to go, and they can't decide where they want to be.
Now, it's Hawken in the lead almost by 2 seconds as a result of all the craziness. It's Shane Sullivan up to 3rd. Ishimaro was able to get up to 4th. Hartley survived for 5th. Brito's up to 6th. Rankin gains 7 spots in the madness to 8th. Munoz is up to 9th. And Caleb Hines is up to 10th. Several drivers absolutely moved their way through that field and survived, and others are going to have to wheel damage potentially until they can get a fast repair done during their pit stop. Also of note today, 2 are available today rather than the normal 1 here, Stefan. So drivers do have that luxury, if so. But the problem is, of course, 3 drivers have already had to use tows today. Columbra, Clark, and Jonas Seeger are already off the track here, Stefan.
Yeah, and 2 fast repairs is good to have, but you really don't want to use them, especially with that tow like they already had to use, so you're pretty much already out of the runnings for pretty much any sport except for the back ones because of how long this tow is. I think it's nearly 4 minutes around Suzuka.
Yeah, the fast times around here in practice, for comparison's sake, 25.7 set by Caleb Hides. It so happens to be. So that's going to be interesting to see how the race pace is for that car, but this lead pack still has not been able to close back in on Brandon Hawken. In fact, they've lost time. It's nearly 2 seconds after a topsy-turvy first lap. Pruitt, Sullivan, Ishimaro lead Pack 1 with Hartley, Prado, Rezzini, Rankin, Munoz, Hides, and Burrows among the several others in that lineup. Want to take a look at what happened after what was a crazy start to this one. It all started on the standing start in the mid-pack. And keep an eye on the number 71, that's Palisamatic, who ends up coming down to the right side of the track. It's the Trident Racing Machine who comes across the front nose of somebody, and in turn, they all pile up around 20th on back.
There we have to start it right on the get-go. Just goes over to the right. It also seems like he did miss a shift there, and that just chain reaction, nowhere to go for the cars behind. And then just up ahead, going through turn 1, there's also that big wreck at the very start of the field. It was actually 2 separate incidents that caused that incident up ahead as well. There's even one car finding its way onto the barriers.
Take a look back live, by the way. Nick Carty, scrabble board, that's the 46. Adams also having to use faster pairs under this green flag condition. But for Brandon Hawken, this may have been one of the greatest blessings of the day because he is a strong road course racer. You're seeing that right now. He's just pulled 3/10 this sector. And yes, the draft can come into play here, you have to think, Stefan, but it's hard to catch up when the draft is already broken on lap 1.
Yeah, and not only that, you have a very strong driver up ahead with Brandon Hawking. And right now it seems like he is actually able to manage that gap well enough so that the time he loses on the straights, he can get that back in the middle sector here, all the way through the S's and the rest of that up to the hairpin. So really great driving right now by Brandon Hawking, and on top of that, extremely flawless execution of the gap that he has right now available behind him.
And keep in mind, the big thing though with the draft is it helps you save a lot of gas. The main thing is though, the drivers who timed up the undercuts right were the ones who gained time. Drivers losing time in the Castillo Triangle, a bit of Doring with Nico Arielmomi nearly bumped off the racetrack. Hawken with the new fastest lap of the race, while everyone else tries to line up. 22-26-2 now just set by Hartley though in the draft. So while Shane Sullivan holds on to the lead car for the draft, there was a bit of a check he apologized for out of the Castillo Triangle, by the way. Stefan, what's going through your mind here at this point with what's been a crazy one? Oh, by the way, how crazy has it been? We've got lap traffic already coming up.
Yeah, I'm really trying to sort my stuff here, especially with the notes that I have written down. Our really big contenders for the championship are pretty much nowhere to be seen right now. Brandon Hartley down in 5th place. Yes, you have Brandon Hawking in 1st place, but I really didn't have him that much on the calendar in the first few runnings. So really interesting. Xiaomi Masastori still sitting in 12th place, right where he started. You still have Anthony Burrows in 11th, who just had a misshift, or seems like a slowdown going into the hairpin as he is actually stepping onto the brake. Elvis ranking only up to 8th place as well, so just inside the top 10. Very interesting start to this race, and we still are nowhere near the strategies that are gonna come into play once the pit window opens.
And keep in mind, there is the new damage model on these cars as of this build, if you think back to September for iRacing. So you can significantly damage these cars with some contact, and some of these cars have had to deal with it, like a James Sharp, like Fernandez, like some of the others who had to dart through the grass early on in this one, who may be still struggling with that. 14 estimated laps to go again the distance, and once again, live time scoring available at gsrc.tv. Keep up with your favorite teams and drivers. There you can see Brandon Hawken is now up to nearly 3 seconds over P2. This is from on board for Sullivan, who's in 3rd. Well, near trouble, and there is trouble behind them. Elvis Rankin is spun around. Robert Hartley has to take the shortcut of the Castillo Triangle. Several of your points contenders off the track, and they're still crashing. Ari Harlow with trouble. Sullivan now with a technical issue with gear shift, so several people having problems out of Casio Triangle this time.
That was actually Prieto around. Rankin was not involved in that, thankfully for him. He is now sitting into 5th place, a good thing there for him.
It was at the very least right next to him. In fact, right in front of him. Look at that. They weren't even making contact in front, and it almost seemed like he was sliding off the track. He just avoids it. I think it was his teammate actually set off. Yes, that was Hartley, his teammate. And then you have Arlie Harlow, who was having a problem out of that same section, who then got crashed. He's now had to use a faster pair. Justin Taylor's had a technical issue this lap. And oh, by the way, the driver who was 3rd last time by now has a gear shifter issue. Everybody's having problems. Did I mention we're not even 10 minutes in?
An incredibly weird race. I honestly have no words for what is happening here. The complete field is being shaken up. We now have Elvis Rankin from 15th up into 5th. Daniel Ariel Munoz from 17th into 6th. We also have Caleb Heights from 19th into 8th. Shaman Master Stars finally made some positions good here, 12th to 9th. And Nick Arvilomi also 4 positions up from his starting grid. Incredible. We also have Christian Lindroth, who somehow was able to get some positions away from all of that starting kerfuffle, as we still have the battle for 2nd place between Kukukut and Shane Sullivan.
And you also have Ishimaru, who was able to pass by Sullivan, who has been having an issue upshifting out of the Casio Triangle. That could be tricky for today. And keep in mind, you see some damage on that front end of the 22. I think that's part of the reason this group can't catch up is they're getting hauled up here and no one's been able to build up a run yet, or no one I don't think realizes that front bumper is smashed in here. Understand saving fuel here, Stefan, but somebody has to make the move here at this point, or else Brandon's going to be gone.
Much though we still have the tactics being played out here. Everybody in behind Brandon is actually saving a little bit of fuel. Brandon has to go flat out every single lap. Kukukut is really not able to save fuel as well, because yes, he is being pushed, but he is having those big damage at the front, as Ishimaru does do the better move here into turn 1. He's not attacking him into that very tricky corner for the MX-5. Maybe he is going to try something into the hairpin, or at the very least next time around into the Casio Triangle. So we will have to have our eyes peeled on this battle.
Lead is now nearly 4 seconds rather. Fernandez, by the way, was spinning the Casio Triangle last time by Shuffle the 21st. You were just talking about this a little bit. Christian Lindroth is one of your biggest movers, up plus 11 along with Hides, along with Munoz. For Lindroth, though, he had to dodge all the madness to get up to where he is.
Yeah, he had to drive through 3 wrecks already here. Christian Lindroth, the Scandinavian, doing a very good job with his MX-5 to avoid all of that and still have a very clean car. And let's be honest, he can very easily get into the top 10 here, because just ahead of him, leading this group, is Anthony Burris, who is sitting in that 10th place.
They're going to have to dodge some more trouble. Munoz just got spun out. Alex Penerzini just got into him right in front of these cars, and Munoz had just been saying on the radio, please don't get me DQ'd, as in, please don't give me incident points. He just gave him some.
As the lights have turned on now as well, just a little bit of a crossing of lines. They're not really anything Alex Petersini wanted to do there, just a rather unfortunate racing incident between those two. They lost 2 positions, but they're still in behind Shaman Masas Torres, the draft. Though, let's have a look at that battle for P2. What is going to happen here? Obviously, Ishimaru not going to do something into 130R. Hopefully, he is going to do something into the Casio Triangle, because Kukukut is most definitely holding up this group.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Look at the right front headlight for the number 22. It is crunched on in from that first lap incident in the first corner. Right now, these drivers are losing up to a few tenths a lap on Brandon Hawken, who's already up by 4.1 seconds, with the drafting partner with lap traffic and James Clark. Still, defensive line for the 22. He does not want to give up these spots here, it looks like, Stefan, before he comes in for a scheduled stop.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the 22 does want to give up the position, but Soichi Ishimaru just bumping the car along and just doesn't realize that the 22 is so extremely slow. He could have pulled out and be clear about 3 or 4 times over the 22. Even, I'm pretty sure Shane Sullivan would have been able to get past the 22. That's just how much slower that car is right now in a straight line.
Now DNF in the race. Christopher Henn is now out of the race. By the way, Alvin Rankin has joined the back end of this drafting pack, so it's now gone from 3 cars being held up, or 2 cars being held up, rather 2-3. And potentially, Caleb Hines and Torres could be here in the next couple laps.
Yeah, Taha Kugukut last lap 28.187, and Caleb Heights last lap at 27.8. So even Heights is so much faster than Kugukut. So it won't take too long for Heights to get up to that and hopefully start to do something, because once again Ishimaru creeps up to the back of the 22 and instead of trying to overtake, just lifts ever so slightly, slots in behind and just pushes him around the corner.
The youngster Caleb Heights under the radar, entering tonight one of his first starts, the best we've seen from him so far. The youngster had won 1 previous series championship for his region in this Mazda MX-5 Cup car in the past. Currently wheeling that pitbox.io machine around the track. He started all the way back in 19th position in this race after struggling qualifying. He was your fastest in practice, however. And we have a penalty on track. Rick Combois given a black flag. That was from the early incidents. That was with Paul Semanek. So a black flag, the first of the race, given this time to the number 78.
Yeah, not surprised that Rui Coimbra got a penalty for that infraction there, as once again our P2 battle is on the front stretch. This time around the 22 got a really good drive out of the Casio Triangle, but look at how much the Ishimaru is catching that 22. Oh, in behind, Sullivan goes wide through turn 1, is going to lose that position over Ellis Rankin, or is he? No, yes, Rankin goes past into P number 4.
Good pass and a good save as well. Sullivan had been getting a little bit loose there. Couple drivers are going off cycle. James Sharp and Alex Pederzini have gone off cycle for pit stops just now. Also a black flag given this time to Andreas Brito as well for contact with Robert Hartley that we've seen, with Hartley getting shuffled all the way back to the end of the points in 15th as a result. By the way, at the moment, Torres nearly 5/10 faster at the moment than the 22.
Yeah, it just shows how much that 22 is holding that pack up. Shamas' Torres without any drop, 5/10 faster, just tells you the real story here is, oh, that was close. Shane Sullivan, Al McGrath nearly into the back of Elvis Rankin, as we are driving on board with, I think that is Shane Sullivan. Nope, sorry,
this is from Torres. This is from Torres. Have to say though, Sullivan is looking really, really slippery. He is drifting through the corners right now. He's so loose. This whole pack is now 5 seconds behind. And another black flag given to James Sharp this time. That was from contact with the number 4. That was referred to with Juan Manuel Fernandez that spun around the Casio Triangle about 3 laps ago. So and there goes that strategy for Sharp.
One of our past champions, Sonny Kenshin, had a massive spin through the diagonal curves just a minute or so ago. Sonny Kenshin hard into the outside wall because he took too much curb at the second diagonal corner, and he lost a lot of positions. Is now back to 19th place from his 15th position that he was in at the beginning of this lap.
Now here's the main thing, with so many cars clipping the grass and so many going 2 wheels off into the incident point areas, You'd have to think drivers are going to have to be safe. It looks like they're finally going to be aggressive, though, for the pass for second. Ishimaru finally gets the message, makes the move for second. Finally, a new lead car. Only took losing 6 seconds.
Yeah, and just you were able to see how easily Ishimaru was able to get past Kukikut there. Just no effort whatsoever. Didn't even really need the draft of the 22 to get past. And as I said, Elvis Rankin, that third car in line, also nearly got side by side with the 22. Just by the 22 being that slow in a straight line with the damage.
Robert Hartley and Fernandez both pit this time. 18-second pit stops for those drivers. So they've also gone off cycle, approaching halfway. This lap expected, 9 laps estimated to go. And now the gap is about 6 seconds. Brandon Hawken continues to just stay in his own little world, to say the very least, so far. To the point where he's still gaining on these cars, surprisingly, in this section. Huge break for Torres, nearly hit the back end of Sullivan.
Yeah, will be interesting dynamic now inside this 6-car group. Who is going to be able to get that momentum and catch back up with
Oh, trouble for Munoz in that same section from P8. He got spun around again. Munoz just getting back going is now back to 13th in the 007 car. Gonna see if I can take a look at this here. We'll take this at a glance. Apologies there, as that is the start. As now, we are at 20 minutes to go this lap.
Yeah, so basically what happened there with Munoz, it was a single car spin on the curb, on the throttle, just too eager with all of that wheel input and spins it around on the curb. No harm and no foul, though he just
Oh,
lost
where is Torres going? Torres just dive bombed it for 2 spots and made it stick in the Casio triangle. It's 2 cars just seen that and said, get me out of here.
What a move by Torres.
I don't blame Rankin Ishimaru saying, you know what, let's get out of here after seeing that. This is right at halfway, by the way. About 5 more minutes estimated they can go on the fuel at the very most. That's about maybe a lap or 2. This is all while Brandon Hawken is still leading by nearly 7 seconds.
Yeah, and if we follow Brandon Hawking around here a little bit, you're gonna see that car still is pitch perfect here. It doesn't roll around much, it doesn't slide around much. He had really been able to save those tires from any harm that the guys behind weren't able to. You're really gonna see that now through the diagonal curves. Look at that, just a bounce, and that's it. No major slide from that car, even through diagonal 2 over that curb. Very hard on the inside, just a little bit of bouncing, but no sliding.
Yeah, it's been really hitting his marks in the 27.9s, 227.9s. That is off, by the way, of 1.6 seconds. That actually may be the interesting part of all this, because depending on how you play this out here, Stefan, this may be where you can't get the undercut to work if you, say, time up the fuel and also take the 2 tires to where they help you out with the grip. One driver did make a mistake, though, on their fuel calculations. Ishimaru, 56 seconds in the pit box.
That sounds more like having 4 tires instead of 2, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that is a major mistake. That is a lot of time lost. You can get away with it for 18 seconds with the 2. So that takes out one of your lead cars, who was up to as high as 2nd just a minute ago. And now we may see pit stops this time. Now, Big Sen coming up into 130R. Sullivan backs out. Torres does not. Kruakot way off the racetrack into the Casio triangle. Huge defense in the brakes, back out, braking it himself as the 22. He cuts the corner. Will any of them duck down this time? Yes, they will. All of them duck into the pits.
Oh, and this is really bad for Kukikut because he's not able to give back that time that he just gained, and that's gonna be a major penalty in the pit box.
We'll see if it ends up being that case. Rankin right now, by the way, you can take a wild guess. It just so happens to be your cane of strategy, it seems. He pulled 4 seconds on everybody else in the pit window. The question is going to be, race cycles with everybody else.
Everybody going on the left side. Checked. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Clifford Evans stayed out of the track. Torres is out of the box. But this is a fairly long lane, off and away as well. Brandon Hawken sacrificed the lead with a 22-second stop. What in the world? Brandon Hawken had a 7-second cushion, and he just used all of it to take more time in the box.
That's not a bad call by Brandon Hawken. He had that time, so he used that to his advantage and get 4 new tires, because now the handling of his car actually doesn't change. The guys in behind that only took left side tires will have a major difference in grip levels between a right hand and left hand corner. We already saw that at Okayama, and it's gonna be even more pronounced here at Suzuka with those S's, with the Dagners, and especially with the spoon corner.
He still leads by about 2 seconds and has a buddy right now in Thomas Geisler, who still has to pit. But now Torres is in clean space. He jumps Rankin by 3 seconds. Rankin jumped Heights by 3 seconds. And then the pack is about, at the moment, 9 seconds behind, with Pederzini, Lindroff, and Hartley leading that group.
While we check on Evan, who is now coming out of Spoon Corner, I just want to give an update of how much of a penalty that actually was for Kukukut, that he did cut the Casio triangle. He is just now exiting the S's.
That is a 1 minute and 6-second penalty. I don't know if he thought he can get the penalty served in the pit entry, but that may have not been the smartest call from him. His best run of the season in his entire time in Big C's MX-5 Challenge, if I should say, goes for naught. P8, as we talked about, includes those drivers in that choo-choo train right here. Heights, Pederzini, Lindroff, and Hartley, who's on the recovery drive, is up to 9th.
As Evan has entered pit lane already halfway down the pit straight, he should be exiting somewhere around these guys. Would be very interesting to see how Clifford M is going to be able to manage that first lap on the cold tires, while these guys come on with a lot of speed and, most crucially, with all the warm tires.
Pit stop box times about up towards at 19 seconds. Clifford Evan takes 18, already has lost the spot to Brandon Hawken and Torres. 2.89 seconds the official gap. The pack right now is about 7 seconds behind. As a result,
there we go.
And Clifford Evan actually will jump them. Clifford Evan will actually jump a couple of them.
Oh, Alex going extremely wide there, and yep, just about where I expected him to be, right in behind Alex Pederzini for that should be 7th place that he is now in.
6 estimated laps to go this upcoming time by, and now it becomes the peculiar part. Can anyone catch Brandon Hawken? Anyone at this point, because seriously, he has been that good in the corners.
Yeah, and you can already see how much of a gap Brandon Hawken did pull on Shaman Amasa's tires, already up by another second in the last lap. So he's really putting those brand new tires to very good use.
Now really played this perfectly with the gap and everything. Now has a chance to get back up to that distance for the plates he's running at the moment. 2:27.5, by the way, for the drivers up to speed. Fight could be on, though, for second soon, because Torres and Rankin are close. Separated by 0.7 of a second, if they elect to do so. That's the question of if, of course, since if you fight too hard here, you could lose the time and they could be gone. Same could be said for P6 on that.
And yeah, these guys, they are 6th place, but they are starting to have a little bit of a spread here. Christian Lindroth is going a little bit, or rather Clifford Evan is starting to drop away a little bit from the guys ahead, Alex Pedersini and Caleb Hayes. Obviously, that is down to also having those cold left side tires, but it really doesn't seem like he is going to be able to catch them, at least for the next 3 to 4 laps. Oh, there's a touch of grease and Lindroth!
Lindroth got a hit from the back end. The BRT machine able to hold on to it, however. Misses the brakes, though, nearly into the Casio triangle. Able to still stick it, though. That could have been disastrous. By the way, up the road, that's the battle for second. Yes, that's Rankin and Torres side by side. Rankin moves up the second. The two championship favorites now, 2-3 on the racetrack.
And I'm pretty sure at this point, this is what they will be fighting out for. They won't be able to catch Brandon Hawking. Hawking, the last lap, another second pulled out of the gap in behind them. So I really don't see Hawking to make that mistake, to give them the chance to fight for the win here today.
You know, the funny thing, there was a broadcast where Brandon Hawking ran in a stock car specifically on a road course. We were talking about this, where he ended up coming away with the victory in that race. When I mentioned him being good on road courses, his response to that was, oh, I'm not quite that great on them. And personally, you know, I was beat by some of my own teammates even. And he thought I was talking about Racine Fazui specifically at that point. Guess what? He's showing that that statement is currently correct, where, yes, he's good on road courses if he's pulling away from everybody like this, including these two.
The ever so friendly Canadian, Brandon Hawking. Most definitely, as you said, running away, and he is doing that really good. So, folks, note it down. If you are chasing down Brandon Hawking, put him under pressure, and he's not going to be as good, apparently. As we're looking at the battle for number 4, Caleb Hayes is... let me check. Is he catching the guys ahead? Yeah, he might actually be able to catch Chalmers Torres and Elvis Rankin, though it is only 10 more minutes to go.
And only about 4 laps, and they're only about, yes, they had 9/10 of a second difference, but that was with the pass to factor in. So when they're up to speed here, it's going to be the true sign. But again, I have really liked what I've seen from the 92 machine today. Has been clean, has been patient, and has been quick. Someone that may be someone to watch for as the season develops.
Yeah, the two standout drivers here today, most definitely Caleb Hayes in that 92, and Christian Lindroth, that 21 from 25th into 7th place. But Caleb Hayes might just lose a position right here as Alex Pedersini goes to the inside. The yellow and pink car trying to make that move for 4th place, and he very nicely does so.
At the very least, believe they know each other because they just so happen to share license places. So the battery tenders swap back and forth. Here's the look again of the train for second. A couple laps ago on the radio, Torres said push after Rankin made the pass. Unfortunately, the push is still losing them about 6/10 a lap.
And that is just that power that makes the difference.
Teammate, by the way, to Rankin for Orion Race Team, Robert Hartley, was able to make the pass on Lindroth. Here's the look. It was in the backdrop of all that.
That was a very nice pass through turn 1 and 2. 26 makes it down on the 21. And yeah, he's not too far away from that battle for 4th place. Although it is only 3.5 more laps to go there. You can see him right there shooting through your screens. It's only, what is that, 2 seconds, I think, to Clifford Evan.
Give or take. Yes, under 2 seconds, if anything. That's also, by the way, where these cars are. 220 flats last time for the lead car. That was around that mark, if not a little slower with the pass, though, for Hartley and Lindroth last time by. I have to think these cars, though, are focusing on their own race because at this mark, unless something happens, they are likely not going to even catch up to second, even with the bump drafts like they're trying to do here.
Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. These guys most definitely, by their own chance, will not be able to catch up to that second place battle. Oh, Rankin just spun!
Elvis Rankin and Torres had spun around. Both of them slowed up hard. And now, two of your championship contenders losing time and positions. Rankin back to 6th with damage.
Just too eager on the throttle.
Yeah, a little bit too sharp, if anything, too, in the second part of the Casio triangle. And I think Torres could not believe that mistake on the radio either. They had just been talking about if they had anything for him, and now they definitely don't. Wow.
Yeah. Torres has to be really careful now because he has that damage on the front that is quite extensive actually on his front bumper. So he really has to be careful not to be caught by Pedersini here in the last 2 laps.
Torres is able to hold on still for second spot, but man, it's not going to be anywhere as easy though now, because now they definitely can try and catch him now for third on back because something did happen.
Yeah, most definitely something did happen, and you were really nicely able to see right here how crumbled that front is of the Spaniard. So Cameron Torres, he is in danger of losing that second place because the draft train is gonna choo-choo by him if he is not standing at the platform.
And don't forget at this point, we talked about the incident limit. So many drivers I think might be just about at it, if not on the cusp of it. Again, 20 incident points was the limit. Some of these drivers are going to have to be very careful on these moves to make sure they don't slam into each other here now.
And you can see how much Pedersini is able to catch up to. Cameron Torres already at the back of him just after half a lap. And now there's the big straight coming up all the way to 130R and past it into turn 1. Let's see if Pedersini is already going to try something here into 130R. Look at the speed difference already just halfway down the straight.
Torres actually checking up a little bit in 130R. Now, how will that affect Pedersini and Hides on how they try and play this? Again, in a little bit of an early break. Almost looking like Torres is trying to back up the corner here, trying to prevent them from building up the run.
That is probably not going to be to any avail because that draft and that slow car of Torres is going to play its course. Maybe not in this lap, but for sure in the next one.
Well, if they fight side by side behind him, that's going to help a little bit. Big draft now, having to block 2 lanes instead of 1. Hides now led on by Pedersini. Now it's Hides trying to make the move. Clifford Eben now with a back bumper once again. This will also potentially allow Elvis Rankin back into the fight if they have anything happen here now. Hoping not to jinx this time. Approaching 4 minutes to go now on the clock as Torres looks to still hold on to his second spot on the podium.
The big thing for Torres is the thing that I actually didn't think about. How is his radiator holding up? Now, we know that these cars have really good cooling because they are, after all, just road cars with a roll cage slapped on pretty much. But with that extensive damage to the very front of the car, might actually be a little bit of problem with a slightly overheating car for Torres.
Yeah. And I think there was at least one car who blew up from that before. A bit of contact, and there's one driver just about at the limit. Clifford Eben thought he was going to end up hitting the incident limit back there. They were so tight. Bounced off the back end of the 31. Hyde still not able to build up a run, though, on Torres. Looks hungry, though. Heading off towards Spoon. Took a peek to the right. Taking a peek again to the right. Torres defends hard to the left. Hyde's now with the brakes. Hits the grass. He slides. He's off the track into the sand.
Great save.
That's opened up the battle now for about third, and this is what Torres needed. Evan now can't get the run though off the corner underneath the 31.
Yeah, but watch it by how much they are gonna close that gap come 130R. Pedersini already 1 car length into the gap of Torres. That's the 2nd car length. He is gonna be able to nicely go full throttle through 130R if Clifford Abbott doesn't try anything into the Kansas triangle. They are gonna be there by the end of the front straight.
By the way, white flag, expect that time under 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. Takes 2 minutes and 28 seconds to get around. Brandon Hawken leads now by 12 seconds over this. This is now for the battle for the 2nd step of the podium on back. Torres now breeding the snake. Pedersini now trying to bring the draft. Clifford Evan hits him in the back end, hard into the wall. Slam hard into the Owen Pink machine, into the Armco. He's now done. Torres still holds on to 2nd, while Evan now tries to fall on behind. Behind with him is Hides, and Rankin is now there.
And this is exactly what that speed difference was. Pedersini did slam on the brake to not run into Shamama's Torres. Evan not expecting that. And he was done for. And interestingly enough, at that moment that we're speaking about right now, also Pedersini just got a black flag for an avoidable contact with the 92.
That was for what happened in Spoon. But I still can have the last lap in that if he can somehow get the 2nd in all of this. 1 minute to go. Evan building up good momentum. Torres still trying to wheel around a damaged car. Heading back towards some of the last passing zones of the racetrack with under a minute to go on the clock. Evan has been later on the brakes to the back bumper. Once again to Spoon goes Evan. Evan taking one more peek again into Spoon, not able to build up the run he's looking for. This is all while Brandon Hawken is coming down the backstretch to 130R. No peek from Evan yet in the fight for 2nd. Checker flag expected this time by for some of these drivers. Fight for 2nd. Evan now to the outside line. Evan looking into 130R, coming out of the final corners. Torres slides up and defends hard. This is all while Brandon Hawken comes out of the final corner. Checker flag waves. Brandon Hawken wins at Suzuka in round 2 of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge, where the fight for 2nd is still back and forth. Torres defends again. Clifford Evan goes in the pit lane. Clifford Evan has an incident problem. He's now having to serve a black. He's out of the race. Hyde steals the podium into 3rd at the Checkered. Rankin recovers to 4th. Hartley recovers to 5th. Lindroff. Evan, I think, may still finish 7th here. Not sure. Arby, Lomi, Sullivan, Fernandez, the top 10. What in the world was that final lap? Stefan, are you in shock?
Yeah, I really don't know what to say right now. Clifford Evan just drives into pit lane out of his own will. I don't know.
He had to serve the black flag. He had to serve the black flag for the contact and put the 31 into the Armco.
Oh, now I see. Yeah, right. So, unfortunate situation there. He could have had that pass for 2nd place, but because of that, now only finishes in 7th. And Christian Lindroth, by the way, 6th place.
Yeah, let's take a look at this again. And if he didn't have this black flag, he absolutely may have a shot here. Let's take a look and break this down. This might have been right when he found out, right about here. Now, almost like as soon as he realized it, he started backing it off.
Pretty much it happened right out of 130 out that he got that penalty, and you can see how he's starting to back off a little bit, but obviously he was still slipping some Caleb Heights. And then also Shaman Stories up ahead misses that braking point a little bit, and then yeah, Clifford Evan just drives into pit lane because he had to serve that penalty.
Well, that was an interesting one. Take a step aside. The minus 273 post-race show is coming up in just a few moments. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel for the virtual Suzuka circuit. Welcome back to the virtual Suzuka circuit for the minus 273 post-race show. Whether it's on the real track or the virtual track, minus 273 has one goal in mind: to produce the best racing gloves to get the job done. With unmatched comfort, durability, and style, their gloves will leave your old ones in the dust. Find out how they can help you by visiting minus273.biz. One driver left them all in the dust today after a crazy start to this one. Brandon Hawken pulled away to nearly 14 seconds to come away with the checker flag over Torres after a wild topsy-turvy battle for second to end off this one as well. Hides moves up to third at the stripe with Rankin, Hartley, Lindroff, your top six. Arby, Lomi, Sullivan, Fernandez, and Kenshin round with the top 10. Keep in mind, with the black flag, Eben was cycled back to 16th. Stefan, you're about to see.
Yeah, so really bad incident there in the very end for Eben. Sonny Kenshin did finish in 10th place. Daniel Ariel Muniz in 11th place on what's 12th place for him from 26th, by the way. So very great job by Owen to finish that off. Soichi Ishimaru, rather, he had a great race, was in second place for a very long time, only finishes in 13th because he took 4 tires. Hayden Gober 14th, Simon Erpelding 15th, Clifford Eben, as you said, only down in 16th place. That's a big story right there. Clifford Eben, after a really bad incident with Alex, only down there in the very midfield of the pack, with Kukukut in 17th, also one of the cars that was in the lead pack for a very long time, and Anthony Burris 18th, Jeff Lee 19th, and Adi Hedder rounds out your top 20.
21st spot today goes to Paolo Samanik, who had an adventure today. Guys were 22nd. Liam Hides finished 23rd. James Sharp tried an early pit stop call and then got penalized after earlier contact for the start of the race. He'll finish in front of the Scrabble board, with Bachmeyer being the word mentioned behind him. Adams and Prem round out your drivers who finished this race on the lead lap. Darzini DNFs still finishes in front of the 78 of Columbra at the checker flag in this one, Stefan.
Yeah, with Clark 2 laps down already in 31st, Prieto 32nd, and the last few cars are gonna be now on your screens. They all didn't finish, sadly. Out of 38 drivers, only 31 finished.
And in the end, Brandon Hawken put on well a clinic today, to say the very least. I'd mentioned earlier in this broadcast that when I asked him about his skills on the road course and the stock car side, had felt more it was his teammates that were the spotlight. Brendan, I think that statement just got flipped towards being what I was trying to say before in the springtime and earlier this year, because you just walked away from the field a nearly a 4 tenths quicker lap. How does it feel to be the winner in this one?
Wait, Justin. Yeah, man, it feels great. I had a really good feeling going into this race, but I didn't know it would end up like that. So I'm just yeah, really surprised, but really just it's had everything go my way that race, and unfortunately we had that incident at the start with James. But I was just just trying to just run lap after lap, just doing the same thing the whole time, and yeah, just did my best to maintain that lead, and yeah, just really, I'm pretty lost for words right now. I didn't know it happened like that. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was something I think we weren't even expecting for this type of race. The first time this series has come to this track in its history. What was it like trying to conquer this circuit and trying to master these corners to make sure you didn't get any incident points, as well as didn't lose time, as well as broke that draft, or at least kept yourself out of the draft after everyone else lost 2 seconds off the jump?
Yeah, it's Suzuka's a really interesting track to drive with the MX-5 because there's a few corners where you can just chuck it in, and yeah, so yeah, I kind of had to balance it, kind of like how hard do I push it without pushing too hard, because if you get on the rumble strips, they can get a little bit nasty. So I was just trying to find a really good balance between that and not getting too many off tracks, because yeah, on the outside of some of the curbs, yeah, it'll give you a 1x. So yeah, I was just trying to balance that the best I could, and yeah, it worked out well.
Indeed, to put it in perspective, no one who finished this race finished with under 10 incident points, including yourself. Now, though, this is big for the championship for one, but also we go to another big track next, Road America. Your thoughts going there as we go back to the US swing?
Yeah, Road America is a great track. I'm really excited for that. It's gonna be really draft heavy, so it's gonna put on a great race, I think. Yeah, just try and stay safe as I can, and yeah, you never know because things can get pretty wild. So yeah, we'll just try and put on another good race, and yeah, we'll see how it goes from there.
Anyone you want to thank for your run today?
Oh, for sure, all my teammates at Movano Racing, James Sharp. I forgot to forgot to shout out Marcello there last week. I wish he was here. Just yeah, Clifford, all the sponsors of the series, you guys in the booth, just everybody that makes this thing possible. It's great to run every week.
Congratulations on the win today. A crazy one, but well deserved.
Thanks, Justin.
Brendan Hawken ran away from the field today. One driver who put on a very impressive drive. In fact, one of your drives of the day from 19th to 3rd. It was Caleb Hides who came away with the third step of the podium. Stefan, you're with him.
Yeah, and Caleb, talk us through that last lap. You had that crash just in front of you between Clifford Eben and Alex for that third place. What were your thoughts going into that last lap, especially with then Eben also getting that black flag that made you possible to get into third?
Oh yeah, I don't know what to say. Coming to on the second last lap, I was running in third, I think, and then I had a bit of contact with Alex and I ran wide, and then I was down to fifth at that point. I thought any chance at the podium was gone, and then white flag, Cam and Alex made contact in turn one. I was kind of wondering if Cam would get a penalty or not for that. So yeah, kind of just sat behind him. And then through the last chicane, the penalty came up on my screen. I saw that Clifford Eben had received a penalty. So he came into the pits and there was a bit of contact through the final chicane. There was like 6 of us all in there, but I was able to hold on and grab P3, and yeah, just so stoked.
Yeah, most definitely a very great result in the very end, especially like Justin said, coming from a 19th to 3rd. Next up, we are going to an even bigger draft track than Suzuki's. What are your thoughts coming into Road America?
I'm excited, especially off the back of this epic race. I'm pumped. I can't wait for Road America in a week's time. Another early Monday morning wake up, but it should be fun.
yeah, should be most definitely fun. Any last words before we let you go, Caleb?
I'd like to say a big thank you to mom and dad for supporting me in my iRacing. Same as Pitbox.io for sponsoring me. Clifford Edmond for running Big C's MX-5 Cup, and the team at GSRC for putting on the Mint broadcast.
All right, Killy Pides, that was your third place finisher today. A big thank you to mom and dad, obviously, out there from all sim racers. Next up, it's Justin Prince talking to Elvis Rankin.
Yes, indeed. And it was a recovery drop from you today. You were as high as P2, and then you made that mistake in the Casio triangle. What happened there? Elvis Rankin, do you have a copy?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was running with Torres there towards the end of the race, and I was noticing every single time to the that final chicane, everybody was outbraking me. I was just being super cautious. I was really struggling with incident points the entire race after the 4X at the start and a bunch of off tracks. And I just was like, I'm gonna brake a little bit later, and you miss the braking meter by anything, and you're gone. So I just overshot the corner, and I guess caught a little bit of curbing and just spun around. But no, I would say for sure today was a really good recovery drive. I'd say 15th to 4th is not bad, and it was a really good points day.
Especially with the carnage today, basically what's going through your head when you seen, well, everybody having problems. There was crashes in front of you. There was crashes right next to you. What was it going through your mind as this race progressed today?
Well, I was just kind of, just saying, all right, let's just go and get like a top 10, top 5, get a good points day. And after that first lap wreck, and I was up to P7 after lap 1, I was like, okay, so a good points night, it's on offer. And then I was noticing that probably third or second was possible with the pace that I had, and I did the hard job, but then just messed it all up, like you said. And I'd say still, P4 in this field with a big mistake that I made, it was not too bad starting from really deep in the field, so I'm happy with it.
Road America's next. Your thoughts on that one?
Road America, super heavy draft track. I don't necessarily like the draft tracks because it's very hard for some guy to get away, but you know what? It is what it is, and I'm pretty good at the draft tracks myself, so I think it will be pretty good there. I know a lot better than I do Suzuka, so I think I'll be good there.
Anyone who want to thank once again for your top 5?
Yeah, I want to thank Orion Race Team, our sponsors, HPP Pedals, Joe Real Timing, my teammate tonight, Robert Hartley. We did an amazing job tonight, both of us, ending up with the top 5 in the chaotic race. So super happy about that. We got a really, really good points night for a lot of the guys that did really good in race 1 but struggled in race 2. So I'm super happy about that. I want to thank my mom, my dad, my grandma, and my grandpa. They support me in anything that I want to do, and whether that's real racing or sim racing or anything that I really want to do. I want to thank you guys at GSRC and Big C's Miata League for putting this whole thing on.
Congratulations on the top 5 today and good recovery drive.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Elvis Rankin coming away with the top 5 today. Stefan, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, most definitely one of the greatest races that we have seen in the Big C's MX-5 Challenge. Probably something we can expect also from Road America, because it's even a bigger draft track, as I said, than Suzuka. So yeah, expect a banger 1 week around.
Yes, indeed. That again at Road America. It's going to be an entertaining one to say the very least. But we'd like to thank you for tuning in into tonight's exciting action once again from Suzuka. I'd like to thank Clifford Evan and Big C's for organizing this strong series, as well as the series sponsors, Sim Experience, SHH Shifter, -273, and Pitbox.io. I'd like to take the time as well to thank the companies who provide the software and hardware for broadcasts listed up on screen. Additional thanks to Jude Long, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team again today, and Stefan and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC and the upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.storeandvui.com, or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. As talked about, the next race for round number 3 is at Road America. Fasten your seatbelts because the draft will be in effect, and as well, lots of danger zones around that racetrack and plenty more passing opportunities. That'll take place November the 1st. Catch that here on GSRC at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And keep in mind, daylight savings time potentially in effect wherever you may live across the world as of this week onward. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on screen, so check those out and mark them down your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.